A young girl disappears without a trace from her own neighborhood, a place where she should have felt safe. The clock ticks as her family, friends, and an entire community search frantically, holding on to hope. But as the hours turn into days, the worst fears set in. What happened to Naomi Jones? Welcome to Chilling Fireside Stories, where I delve into true crime cases and real-life mysteries that grip the heart and mind. Today I'll be exploring the story of Naomi Jones that's heartbreaking and haunting in equal measure. Before I begin, a brief but important warning. This story covers sensitive material, including details about the disappearance and loss of a young life. Viewer discretion is advised, especially for younger or more sensitive viewers. Thank you for joining me in honoring her memory while shedding light on this story. And for those interested in seeing case-related images, I'll have photos of Naomi, key locations, and related evidence toward the end of the video. Stick around to get the full picture of this compelling case. Now let's begin. Naomi Jones was born on October 2, 2005 in Pensacola, Florida. She was just 12 years old at the time of her disappearance, known for her bright smile and warm, outgoing personality. Naomi was a middle schooler who enjoyed dancing and spending time with her friends. Those who knew her described her as friendly and full of life. A young girl who loved to laugh and make others smile. She had dreams like any other child her age and a family who loved her deeply. Her story resonates with so many because she represents the innocence and joy of youth, making the tragedy of her life cut short all the more heartbreaking. Naomi was in middle school at the time, and like many her age, she enjoyed socializing, spending time outside and exploring her neighborhood with friends. She was responsible beyond her years, always checking in with her mother about her plans and her whereabouts. Naomi's story struck a chord in her community, as they realized just how vulnerable she and others in their community were. On May 31, 2017, Naomi left her home to play in the vicinity of the apartment complex, as she often did. For the next few hours, Naomi was seen by other children and neighbors in the complex, but she did not return home as planned. By the early evening, her family grew worried. Naomi's mother, who worked and was relying on friends and neighbors to keep an eye out for Naomi, began looking around the apartment complex. She called the police to report her daughter missing around 5:30 p.m., when her own search efforts turned up nothing. Naomi's family and neighbors immediately joined forces, searching the nearby wooded areas, checking with friends, and calling out her name throughout the complex. In those first critical hours, her family was hopeful that Naomi would return home safely, not imagining the tragedy that would unfold. The Pensacola community quickly rallied, putting up missing person flyers and organizing searches. The complex where Naomi was last seen had security cameras and was frequented by other families, yet there were no clear signs of what happened to Naomi in those critical afternoon hours. Local news outlets covered the search extensively, encouraging anyone with information to come forward. Search efforts were intensified as time passed, with authorities using K-9 units and drones to scan the area. Pensacola Police Department and the Escambia County Sheriff's Office were involved in the search efforts, as were agents from the FBI who specialized in child abductions. Despite the community's best efforts, each day that passed without new information deepened the family's despair and fear. 5 days after she went missing, Naomi Jones' body was discovered on June 5, 2017. Her body was found in a creek called 8 Mile Creek, about 5 miles from her home in Pensacola, Florida. A fisherman spotted her in the water around 4 p.m. and immediately called the authorities. This creek is a remote area surrounded by dense brush, making it difficult to access. The discovery confirmed the worst fears of her family and the community. Once law enforcement arrived, they quickly secured the area to preserve evidence. Her body was recovered and transported for an autopsy, which later confirmed her death as a homicide. This tragic discovery intensified the investigation, and law enforcement ramped up efforts to determine who was responsible for her death. The devastating discovery shattered the community and particularly devastated her family. Police reports from the scene described clear signs of foul play, although the exact cause of death was not immediately disclosed. An autopsy later confirmed Naomi's death as a homicidal violence, marking a painful turning point for everyone who had hoped for her safe return. However, the exact manner of death, such as suffocation or strangulation, was not explicitly stated. This lack of specific detail has left some questions unanswered. The investigation led authorities to a suspect, Robert Letroy Howard, a 38-year-old man with a criminal record, including previous charges related to violence. Surveillance footage as well as witness testimonies connected him to the area where Naomi disappeared. Howard, who lived near Naomi's apartment complex, was known to law enforcement, and this association immediately raised red flags. After being apprehended, Robert Letroy Howard was convicted of the first-degree murder of 12-year-old Naomi Jones in 2017. Howard, who lived part-time in the same apartment complex as Naomi and her family, was found guilty after a trial that included a detailed confession he made during a 3-hour interrogation. According to Howard's confession, Naomi approached him outside his girlfriend's apartment and asked to be let inside. When she tried to force her way in, Howard became angry and choked her, leading to her death. He then placed her body in his car and drove to multiple locations before ultimately throwing her body into a creek. During the trial, prosecutors argued that Howard kidnapped Naomi with the intention of sexually assaulting her and then killed her to cover up the crime. The jury deliberated for just 90 minutes before returning a guilty verdict. Howard was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The arrest brought a sense of closure, albeit painful for her family, though it could never compensate for the loss of Naomi. Naomi's case has had a lasting impact on her community. Her death spurred conversations around child safety, vigilance, and community awareness. Many community members have continued to advocate for child protection laws, and neighborhood watch programs in Pensacola have increased in efforts to prevent future tragedies. In Naomi's memory, her family and community continue to raise awareness about child abduction and the need for greater safeguards to protect young lives. Her family has become vocal advocates, attending events and speaking publicly about the importance of vigilance and supporting families in similar situations. Naomi's legacy lives on in the hearts of those she touched and in the commitment of her family to ensure her story is not forgotten. Thank you for watching this episode of Chilling Fireside Stories. Naomi's story serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of community, vigilance, and child safety. To help support similar causes, you can find links to organizations focused on missing children and family support services in the description below. Please like, subscribe, and share if this story moved you. Your support means the world to me and helps keep Naomi's story alive and sheds light on child safety. If this video resonated with you, please consider subscribing, sharing, and leaving a comment below. I'll continue to bring you important stories like Naomi's, remembering those we've lost and seeking justice for those left behind. At the end of this video, you'll find images that capture moments from Naomi's life and legacy. As always, stay curious, stay warm, and see you in the next story.